Welcome to this special broadcast of the Key Show podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about Dr. Jordan Peterson. And the reason being, I just finished watching a couple of debunking videos that were eviscerating the guy. They sounded pretty intelligent. Both these people obviously had at least a master's degree in psychology and had spent quite a bit of time in university. Quite intelligent. Doesn't mean that their arguments were intelligent, though. So where I'd like to start with this, talking about Dr. Jordan Peterson, is talking about the number one human emotional need. What I've found is that whenever you look at any sort of human discord, somewhere, somehow, somebody isn't getting their number one human emotional need, which is affirmation. If you want to argue with that and find me something that's higher on the chain, please do so. I'd love to know it. So the number one human emotional need is affirmation, and that's the center of my point of view, the center of my argument. The root of all assholes is ego. And if somebody is being a jerk of some sort, the bottom line is that they are not getting their affirmation, and they're not feeling like they're being heard. The number one human emotional need. So the first reason, I've been putting a lot of thought to this because I was just thinking, like, why are you incredibly intelligent people not able to just allow somebody to have a different point of view? Why must you attack the credibility and the character of a person for no other reason than they disagree with you? And I've been putting a massive amount of thought towards this because it's just fascinating, and the vitriol, the venom that people have to attack someone for no other reason than they have a contradictory point of view is spectacular. Then, of course, they'll say, no, this is because this is my social justice warrior moment where I am standing up against an oppressor. That's what they will say, without actually illustrating how somebody is being oppressive. So the first reason that people are Jordan Peterson haters is that because he has such strong and interesting arguments, it is a threat to their own affirmation. So if somebody has a pre-existing belief, and that belief is challenged with an intelligent argument, doesn't mean that the argument against their belief is right. But if it's done in a way that's obviously a valid argument, if somebody is not emotionally mature enough to handle that, they will attack, they will counterpunch. For all the Trump haters out there, of which there are many, one of the legitimate reasons for not liking the guy is his childish counterpunching. But here you are doing the exact same thing with Dr. Jordan Peterson. The guy challenges you intelligently, and you counterpunch because you just have to, out of a sense of you think you're saving the whales. I don't know what you're thinking, but you are going against free speech by taking somebody and saying that they are of evil intent because they disagree with you. They have evil intentions. It's fascinating to me. So, especially if you are part of or self-identified as part of a particular group that you believe is being challenged, that the validity of the viewpoints of that group are being challenged, then you counterpunch. And the way people are counterpunching, and they should know better, is they're going with ad hominem attacks, which is an attack of the characteristics or authority of the writer without addressing the substance of the argument. So, and in both of these, very intelligent, very well thought out, very well produced Jordan Peterson counterattacks, they are both, in essence, ad hominem attacks that were dressed up as intellectual attacks, but they weren't. Instead of looking at the actual core issues and really trying to understand what Peterson's saying, I'm not saying the guy's always right. There's a few things that I disagree with him on, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this broadcast is to talk about his right to say it, whether you agree with it or not, and also to acknowledge the validity of his argument. An argument can simultaneously be valid and wrong at the same time. So even though I might think he's wrong, emotional intelligence is an example. He said in one video, and I don't understand the context, so I'd love to have a conversation with him about it so he has a chance to clarify. But he said emotional intelligence isn't even a thing. It's silly. Well, I can't think of anything more important than emotional intelligence. It trumps IQ in every way I can think, in every way I'd imagine. So I would love to have a conversation with him, not a debate, because in a debate, here's what I don't like about debates. In a debate, it's a fight. There's a right and a wrong, a winner and a loser. That's what I don't like about debates. I'd much rather have a conversation where I am completely open to potentially changing my mind. I'm completely open to the possibility that maybe I'm looking at something in a way that isn't the best way to look at it. Maybe there's a better way to look at it. And if somebody is so small, their ego is so fragile that they can't look at something a different way without feeling that they are wrong, that's emotional maturity right there. That's a lack of EI that Jordan Peterson claims doesn't exist. So, and it's because of the number one human emotional need being, what is it? Affirmation. So people feel less affirmed when they think, oh, I lost that argument or I lost anything. All right. So the arguments against him are ad hominem attacks, so character attacks, credibility attacks, credibility in the quality of his argument attacks, not attacks on the central point. They're attacks on, well, Jordan, you're contradicting yourself. You're on one hand, you're saying one thing, on the other hand, you're saying the other. When you don't even know that. You hear what the guy is saying, but you're not understanding what he's saying. Not that you don't understand the concepts, not that you perhaps understand the concepts he's talking about at a higher level or deeper level than he does. Doesn't mean you understand his arguments. But there is this need to be superior, this incredible arrogance, where as opposed to listening to somebody who you believe is controversial, like Dr. Jordan Peterson, and thinking, I never thought of it that way. Thinking about it that way makes me uncomfortable. That is in contradiction to and incongruent with how I look at the world. But I'll consider his words. If you can do that, you're a mature adult. If you cannot, you're not using your adult ego state. You're responding from an emotional state, which is simply defending your ego. You're defending your number one human emotional need of affirmation. If you can't at least consider that you might be wrong. If you can't, and the older you are, the more difficult it tends to be because you've had those preconceived beliefs for a longer period of time. The longer you have these beliefs, the more difficult it is and the more cognitive dissonance there's going to be to any sort of new information. So if anybody actually gets engaged with this broadcast, what they're going to probably do if they are at the bottom of Graham's hierarchy of disagreement, which is the basis for that, and the idea of affirmation is the center of my argument. So if you're not familiar with Graham's hierarchy of disagreement, the top of the pyramid is refuting the central point. The bottom of the pyramid of the hierarchy is flat out name calling. And it's something that's really worth looking at, because if you look at almost any news show, it is all at the bottom of the hierarchy. It's never up at the top, or rarely up at the top. It's rarely an intelligent, valid, intellectual argument. So the other reason, it brings me to it, why is that? What is the other reason for people that are making honest, I hate Jordan Peterson videos, but they're being honest about it? Like, that's really how they feel. Fine, just do it better. Do a better job of hating him by refuting the central point, and stick with that. And don't use ad hominem attacks. Don't call him names, and don't dun dun dun, he has an agenda. Don't do that. It completely disembowels your argument. It just does. You eviscerate yourself. So the other obvious reason that people are attacking him is because he is the number one monster out there right now as far as popularity. His book, although there is no conspiracy against the right. I'm not even convinced he's on the right, but the New York Times doesn't even register him as a New York Times bestseller. And yet he has been number one on the planet for legitimate sales for a couple of months now. Number one on the planet within his category. That's incredible. But he's not even on the list for the New York Times, which is roughly 7,200 books a week for 2 weeks. That's staggering. If that's not bias, I don't know what is. Institutional bias. But because he is such a big name, people are riding that wave, and they are doing anti-Jordan Peterson videos for no other reason that they are likely to get a little bit of traffic, because he is the talk of the town. He's the guy that's on all the shows. He's besties with Joe Rogan, who is another one who intellectual snobs like to smack around, although they shouldn't, because his curiosity and ability for rational thought, Joe Rogan's, is far superior to many of the academics that I've run into over the years. So here's the thing that's going to happen if this video actually goes anywhere, actually gets any traction. Here's the comments from the ding dongs that are going to happen. There's going to be name calling. There's going to be asking about credibility. What's your education? Where did you go to school? Are you a pseudo psychologist? And and all the other very ineffective, if you're looking at a strong intellectual argument, the very arguments of low standing, right up there with name calling, maybe slightly better, maybe intelligent name calling by calling me a neophyte, perhaps, who knows? But and then there'll be baseless assumptions made. I'll be called a Jordan apologist, which is funny. Or perhaps what he's called, which I think is mind-numbing, calling him an alt-right extremist, which he is nothing of the sort. But I'll get hammered for saying that, and I'll probably be lumped in with that as well. Couldn't be further from the truth. But people will say it without any basis. And that's the name calling. That's the ad hominem attacks. People, I hate you, and here's a bunch of names I'm going to call you because I just hate you. Why do they hate you? Because you're challenging them. No other reason. Not calling anybody names. Whenever I get any guests on this program, we're going to be first setting up for the guest and for the audience the Graham's hierarchy of disagreement. And we're going to have an upfront contract prior to talking that we're going to keep it smart. We're going to use our noggins. We won't be name calling, vilifying, comparing people to evil archetypes. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is talk about the central point and the validity of that central point. And we're both going to be open to considering the possibility that there might be a different way of looking at things. Thanks for watching. I'm Mark Menke. This is the Menke Show podcast. Thank you so much for watching. And please leave a message. Leave a comment. Call me a poo-poo head if you want. But get engaged. Make an intelligent argument. Make a counter video of your own if you like. Have a great day.